And now, the next case.
All parties in the matter of Lopez versus Marshall. Step forward.
Kimberly Lepis is suing her neighbor, 20-year-old Heavenly Marshall, for medical bills, lost wages, and pain and suffering after his dog bit her daughter.
Miss Lopez, it is your claim that the defendant's dog bit your little girl.
Yes.
On the leg?
Yes, Your Honor.
And you want him to be responsible for the medical bills and a whole bunch of other things, pain and suffering, whatever, but at least the medical bills.
Yes, Your Honor.
For your daughter. And Mr. Marshall says that although he acknowledges that his dog may have nipped your daughter, it was her fault. That's what you seem to say.
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay. Tell me when this happened.
September 9th of 2015.
Are you
or
next
September
door?
8th, I'm sorry.
Are you next door neighbors?
There is a house in between us.
How long have you lived in your house?
I am purchasing my house. I moved in 2010.
And how long have you lived in your house?
About a year and a half.
Who do you live there with?
My mom, my brother, and my little sister.
So whose house is it?
My mother's.
And whose dog is it?
My dog.
And how old is the dog now?
He's about a year.
What kind of a dog is it?
A bulldog mix.
How much does he weigh?
About 40 pounds.
Has he ever been out of your house without a leash?
Yes, ma'am.
When and why?
He get out the gate sometimes.
How many times has he gotten out of your gate before he bit Miss Lepis's dog?
It was plenty times he got out the gate, but he has never been nobody, never been aggressive to nobody or anything. But he got out plenty times, and she had to bring him back.
How many times did she bring him back?
About 7 times, I think.
How old are you, Mr. Marshall?
I'm 20 years old.
You better start acting more responsibly with your dog. Your dog's not supposed to be out of the gate. And if your dog is able to get out of the gate, then the dog should be in your house.
He's been in the house, but I let him outside to use the bathroom.
You can't. You put him on a leash and take him for a walk.
A dog owned by Heavenly Marshall bit her daughter.
Okay. Did you see your dog bite this child?
Yes, ma'am. I was outside watching the kids as they was playing.
Outside watching what kids playing?
My nieces and nephews and her kids.
Tell me what you saw.
I was seeing them playing around. They was playing around with sticks and stuff. And they was playing a little bit aggressively, and I told them to stop. And, you know, my dog was at the door, and they were taunting and teasing my dog.
Who was?
The kids. All the kids.
Your nieces and nephews?
All the kids. And
all the kids?
Yeah.
Yes.
And then I had my back towards the door, so I don't know who let the dog out. So as they were playing, somehow the dog got out, and they were chasing the dog with the sticks and teasing him. And Natalie...
Well, now you're watching it. Just a second. So now you see the dog is out.
Yeah,
and these little children are chasing the dog around with their sticks.
Yeah,
so now you're outside watching them. You're not on 20 acres of property. You're in a little yard, right?
Yeah, it
was a little yard. So what did you do?
I was telling them to stop. I was trying to get the dog.
Your dog was out. Didn't you go and grab the dog?
Yeah, I was chasing the dog around. I couldn't control how the dog was acting. He was faster than me. And Natalie hopped on her brother's back and began to kick at the dog, and the dog nipped her leg.
Can I see the medical bills, please?
Yes.
Did they quarantine your dog?
What does that mean?
Did they take the dog away and put it in a place for 2 weeks?
No, ma'am. They were, the animal control came and asked, can I take the dog to get his shots and see if he had rabies and such.
And?
And I took him, and everything came back. He didn't have any rabies or anything.
Had you given him all of his shots?
Yes, ma'am.
So his shots were all up to date?
Yes, ma'am.
Since this incident happened, has his dog been out again?
Yes, Your Honor. The next day, actually, after it happened, when the police came so I could do the report, the dog was loose that morning. So it was loose the morning of the 9th. After that, I did not see much of the dog. He did put it on a pretty big chain in the backyard around a tree. So then it got out one more time, and then the dog hasn't been back since.
You haven't seen the dog at all? You haven't seen him walk the dog? You haven't seen anybody walk the dog?
No, I
Where's
have
the
not.
dog?
I'm walking the dog, and the dog is now at my cousin's house.
The dog is at your cousin's house?
Uh-huh.
Well, that's an answer. The dog doesn't live with you anymore.
No, ma'am.
Why not?
Because of that situation. I mean, he's a pretty good dog. I mean, he's a good-hearted dog. That was the first incident that has happened. But before he got out, nothing has happened. But the dog is a good-hearted dog. Nothing has happened before
Let me
then.
explain to you, the dog doesn't sound like a bad-hearted dog. You sound like a bad owner. Because the first 7 times that she had to bring your dog back, it should have gone off in your brain. Gee, There are a lot of little children around. I can't let my dog be in a position where my dog can get out. Got out once, maybe twice, maybe. But you said she brought the dog back 7 times before this incident. She did.
The dog never done anything. And the
It doesn't matter. The dog isn't supposed to be outside of your control. Ever. Ever. And she tells me, and I absolutely believe her, because you didn't tell me the truth at first. She said she saw the dog loose the next day and then on a chain for a while, and then she hasn't seen the dog. I said, well, do you walk the dog? You said, yes, I walk the dog.
I do walk the dog.
When you go to your cousin's house?
No, before I gave him to my cousin, I walked the dog.
I'm talking after you gave him to your cousin.
No, I walked the dog before I gave him to my cousin. I always walk my dog.
It's like shooting fish in a barrel here.
Judge Judy continued.
$48, and I don't actually think that Mr. Marshall understands. So you're suing him for a lot more because that includes, you want pain and suffering, you want a whole bunch of money that Mr. Marshall doesn't have.
Right.
But I'm doubling this amount because he's got to know that if he has an animal, you have to take care of it.
Your Honor, I did take care of my dog.
No, you didn't. What do you... don't you understand?
Don't
you understand? If your dog is loose and has to be brought back by a neighbor once, that's an accident. That's forgivable. Twice, maybe could happen. 7 times? 7 times. She had, that's what you told me. She brought the dog back to you 7 times before the dog bit the child.
But the kids always was outside when the dog never done anything before that.
He's an idiot. I can't help that. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $500. We're done.
Parties are excused and they step out.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. And
I feel like I'm not responsible because the kids was in my yard playing aggressively.
If they were being aggressive around a dog, maybe he should have got the dog inside.
He nipped her. It wasn't
Insane to blame an 8-year-old for not a 40-pound dog, but more like an 80-pound dog attacking someone so small.
Just take care of your dog.
I'm just glad it's finally over and done with, and we can all just move on with our lives.
Seated. Seat, please.
Miss Langford, the defendant's neighbors of yours?
Correct.
How far do they live from you?
Right next door. Their yard and my yard just have a fence in between the back.
It's your claim that you have 2 dogs.
Yes, correct.
You have this one dog?
I have 2 dogs, but...
This is the dog that
correct.
was injured?
Yes.
It is your claim that the defendant's dogs, both of them, came onto your property and one of them injured your dog?
Correct.
The defendants say that actually your dog came onto their property and was barking at their dogs. Your dog ran back to your home and their dogs chased after your dog. That's your defense. That this dog was out of the plaintiff's control, came on your property, and that's what happened. Okay, so tell me when this happened, Miss Langford.
December 10th. It was just before 4 o'clock in the afternoon.
And where was your dog?
She was on the porch. The front door was open.
She was on the porch. Mm-hmm. And where were you?
We were doing Christmas lights on the grass right in front of the porch.
Go over and point out where that was.
My porch is right here, and we were right here doing Christmas lights decoration.
And where is the defendant's house?
This house.
That house?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So, you can step.
Okay.
So you were doing Christmas lights. Your dog, I assume, was not on a leash.
Correct.
And then what happened?
We had gone inside to get an extension cord. Yes. Mike and I had gone inside to get an extension cord. She followed me in the house, and I pushed the door closed. My garage door is right as you walk in. We went in the garage, pushed the door closed, and less than 2 minutes, I hear screaming and yelling, and I hear animals screaming. So I run out of the garage, out the front door, and as I get on my porch, the defendant's dog is right here with my dog in his or her mouth.
How did your dog get out?
The front door opened. It didn't close all the way. Wind. I don't know.
Whatever.
Yes.
The dog was out of your control.
Yes.
Who witnessed the...
I witnessed the entire event.
Your last name is?
Navarre.
Mr. Navarre, do you live in that house?
Yes, the house to the right.
How long have you lived there?
A little over a year.
How long have you lived in your house?
3.5 years.
Who do you live there with?
I live there with my wife or girlfriend, I guess you would say.
Who else?
And our son and our daughter.
How old are they?
My son is 6 and my daughter is 7 months old.
And what kind of dogs do you have?
I have a lab mix and a Staffordshire Terrier.
Lab mix and a pit bull?
No, Staffordshire Terrier. It's like a, I don't know what to explain. It's more of like a Mastiff than anything.
I'd like to see the pictures. Do you have pictures of your dog?
Yep.
Yeah.
I'd like to see.
I have pictures of both of them, actually.
Which one had the dog in its mouth?
It would be the more brown one right here.
What breed
The
is
lab
that?
mix.
Oh, the lab mix.
The lab mix. So this dog.
Yes.
Okay, go.
All right. I'll show you what happened over here. I arrived home from work at about 4 p.m. approximately on December 10th. I pulled my car into the driveway right here, right up to my garage, and began to open my garage door. As my garage was about that high off the ground, I noticed out of the corner of my vision, through my passenger side window, the plaintiff's dog coming from up the street this direction, not from her house, from up this way, darting into my garage, barking crazily. Like, I could hear it with my windows up.
Okay, so,
And
so the little dog was out of her control, off leash, and darted into your garage.
That's correct.
Where were your dogs?
My dogs were in the far back left corner of the garage. I have a ottoman couch set up for them, and that's where they sit when they're lounging in the garage.
Okay.
So I threw my car into park. Obviously, something was going to happen. Her dog came into my garage aggressively.
Well, but so far the garage door is only, according to you, open a little bit.
It was still opening, so she ran into about that. Maybe it was about 3 feet off the ground by the time I got out of my car.
And?
Threw it into park, exited my vehicle. The plaintiff's dog was already in my garage, and I could hear barking from both dogs. I went into the garage, or I ran into the garage to try to prevent whatever was going to happen. They were both biting and attacking each other already, and I yelled and stomped my foot and went to go grab for all the dogs just to try to separate them. At that point, they all got scared, or whatever happened startled them, and they darted back out of the garage around the other side of my car. So I proceeded to follow them.
So all three dogs, including the plaintiff's dog,
correct,
ran out.
Yeah, ran out from this corner right here, out and around, down the sidewalk here. I'm feet behind them the whole time, screaming. No one is out anywhere outside. We ended up right here on the other side of her driveway. See her drive here? Mm-hmm. We're on the other side in this grass, little greenbelt area, where Tinkerbell, the plaintiff's dog, had nowhere else to run, so my dogs eventually caught back up to it. It's barking and biting still at my dogs. Jenny, our lab mix, actually swooped it up and had it in her mouth, so I grabbed both my dogs around the neck and began to basically choke them to get them to calm down and let go of the plaintiff's dog. Eventually let go of the dog. By that time, I had been screaming this entire time for someone to come help and get their dog because they were both actually inside the house. The front door was wide open. I'd say about the exact time my dog let go of her dog, Stacy, the plaintiff, exited the house with her boyfriend or whoever he may be and was screaming or whatever, you know. So at that time, I just neutralized my dogs, kept them in a headlock, and walked them back over to my house and put them in the garage and came back outside to see if her dog was okay. It was a. Oh.
You could step back.
Okay, sorry. So I walked back outside after I had secured my dogs in to see if Stacy, the plaintiff's dog, was okay. Because it was basically an instant. I didn't think the dog would be hurt at all.
Well, so your dog was injured. You took the dog to the vet.
Yes.
And you had vet bills that were about $1,000.
A little more, yeah.
And you went and spoke to the defendant.
Yes.
And according to you, the defendant, I assume, told you what he had seen.
No, I spoke to Amanda.
Okay, you never spoke to him because she wasn't there.
Correct.
She wasn't there. Did you ever speak to him?
When I had a hold of her, he asked me if she was okay.
So
I said no.
True.
That was it.
My question to you is you never spoke to the person who witnessed what happened.
Correct.
Now, who offered to pay half the vet bills?
Amanda did.
When did she offer to pay half the vet bills? After the date of the incident?
Yes.
Okay, Amanda. I'm only going to ask this question for the purpose of trying to ascertain what motivated you to make for half of the vet bills. Did you speak to Mr. Navarre about what had happened? Mm-hmm. Was Mr. Navarre, was it with your approval that Ms. Sanchez offered to pay half the vet bills?
Yes. Can I explain why, or is that not right now?
No, it doesn't matter. I
Okay.
think that was appropriate, actually. And when you offered to pay half the vet bills, the plaintiff said no, she wanted the whole vet bill paid.
She also said she was,
She also said what?
She was going to take us to court for pain and suffering, wages lost, all kinds of other.
Whatever.
Trying to bully us
Miss
into paying
Langford,
her.
you have to understand your dog was outside of your control.
I do understand that.
Just a second. Mm-hmm. And the precipitating factor for this whole incident was you negligently left the door open and left your dog unattended outside. But for that fact, this whole incident wouldn't have happened if the dog was in your control. So I actually think the defendants were being most neighborly and most appropriate when they offered to pay for half of the vet bills. What?
Well, she's not aggressive or vicious at
Who
all.
cares?
And the attack took place on my porch.
No.
It
The
did.
incident took place because you let your dog out of your control. That's why we call them dogs instead of human beings.
Right.
Neighbors Greg Navarre and girlfriend Amanda Sanchez owe for vet bills resulting from a dog fight.
Now, your dog, very sweet dog, I'm sure does what most little dogs do, which is bark. And I absolutely believe him. And I'm going to tell you why I absolutely believe him. Because he absolutely did the right thing. He said, you know what? It's really not my fault. The dog was out of her control, came in, precipitated an event, but the dog did get hurt, and my dogs did get away from me because the garage door opened up and they scooted outside. So her dog was injured, and I'm going to offer to pay for half of the vet bills. That was really nice of him. You should have taken it, because from me, you're going to get nothing.
Well, okay, so...
They offered,
okay,
they offered to do the right thing.
Okay, do you see her size? How did he see her out the window of his car?
Your question.
Oh,
I absolutely believe him. You negligently put into effect by not securing your door, if I believe that story, because he says he saw the dog coming from the opposite direction from your house. What?
I have pictures of her dog coming from the same direction after this incident off leash, and I have multiple pictures of her new dog off leash, continuing to do so.
In my yard.
Off leash in the yard?
Yes.
No,
it's not her. This is her son with the dog off leash in my driveway.
May I see it? Is this before or after this incident?
Here's another one. These are all after the incident. This one's a little blurry, but this is also...
Just a second. This is your driveway?
Yep.
Where is this picture taken?
You want me to show you on the board?
Yes, I would, please. So that's not near your house or their house?
No.
Now I see where it is.
Well, that's my house.
No, this is your property?
Yes. Look, my house is at the end.
Well, I
and
see
that
your
grass
house is at
belt.
the end. My question is this your property?
The grass belt, yes.
But as you can see in the picture, she's nowhere near the dog.
Yeah, the dog's off leash and outside. And I don't see anybody around the dog.
Yes. This is like a daily occurrence.
Well, the reason it's a daily occurrence is I can't put my dogs in the backyard. And I have messages to their landlord that the fence is not stable.
Listen to me. I'm not interested in the fence. What I'm telling you is, after this event, they started to memorialize the fact that you allow your dogs, both of them, outside and not in your control.
Well,
Just a second.
Okay.
You have any pictures of their dogs outside, out of their control?
No.
Okay, your case is dismissed. That's all. You claim, Ms. Jones, that the defendant first assaulted you, filed false charges against you, has been harassing you, caused you to have to post bail, hire an attorney, etc. The defendant says that actually you assaulted her and have been harassing her. So I have claims and counterclaims. Now, I'd like you to tell me how you know each other.
I basically make the defendant through my former neighbor, Andrew Gaines.
You're not a party to this, are you?
Yes, I'm her husband, Stephen Jones.
I know, but how are you a party to this action?
I also had to take off work to bail my wife out of jail.
I don't care. Sit down.
She actually called my husband the day that this incident happened. That's how he's involved.
He may be a witness, but he's not a party.
Okay.
Go ahead.
We were having a lot of break-ins in our neighborhood. I seen Miss Valerie Jones walk into our mailbox one day. I stopped her and asked her, hey, we're about to have a neighborhood watch meeting. Do you want to come?
How far away do you live from
the street from each other?
How long have you lived there?
I had been there maybe a few months, 4 or 5 months.
On what date were you there? A few months?
June the 18th. I had been there.
Of what year?
2013, I'm sorry.
So that's when you met her, in 2013?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And how long had you been there?
I recently moved back in September, but that has been my home since November of 1998.
Okay. So you met in 2013. When did this incident happen?
June the 18th, 2013.
Well, that's a couple of years ago.
Well, this matter just finishing up. Like, we just went to trial March of this year, 2015. I was just found not guilty.
You mean she charged you with assaulting her?
Correct.
And the district attorney prosecuted that case?
Correct.
But after a full trial, they found you not guilty or not proven. Were you indicted for assault? Were you indicted? Were you charged with a felony?
No, I was charged with a misdemeanor.
Did you have a preliminary hearing?
Yes, ma'am.
In 2013?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And the court found at the preliminary hearing that there was sufficient evidence to move forward?
We actually had a TPO.
What is that?
Well, we both went out and took warrants against each other in TPO. They did a hearing, and we both was arrested right there in the hearing.
Were you arrested as well?
Yes, ma'am, I was.
What happened with your case?
I was dismissed because I do not have any criminal history.
Okay, so your case was dismissed in 2013?
Yes, ma'am.
Your case proceeded forward?
Yes, ma'am.
To trial?
Yes, ma'am.
And you think that now you can have a civil case against her?
Yes, ma'am.
Oh, interesting. All right. June 13th, 2013. What time?
I was about 7 p.m.
In whose house?
Mr. Gaines' house, Andrew Gaines.
You were witness
Yes, ma'am.
to the entire thing.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Now, you filed charges against her for assault.
Yes, ma'am.
So the ball is in your court. You tell me how she assaulted you.
They were sitting in the garage, both
Who was?
Mr. Gaines, Ms. Jones, along with her sister and her sister's friend. I was approximately 10 feet back, not in the garage, out in the driveway.
What was everybody doing in the garage?
Just sitting around talking.
Was it a gathering? The people
A gathering.
In chairs?
I believe that they were having drinks.
In the garage?
Correct.
Okay, but the door open.
Absolutely, yes.
Okay, go ahead.
So Mr. Gaines and I was having a discussion because he was also hired as my lawn man because that is his business. And he broke the cap on my septic tank and did not tell me. And then once I discovered it, I asked him well over a month and a half to repair it. I kept getting a response, I'm going to do it, I'm going to do it. So when I was walking the dog, we had no issues prior to this incident. Let me just make sure you're aware of that. I was having the discussion, one-on-one conversation with Mr. Gaines. Correct. With him, not involving anyone else with regards to repairing the septic tank, trying to get a timeline because it had been raining in Atlanta consistently for well over a month, and I did not want it flooded. With that being said, Ms. Jones got involved, saying, I don't want to hear that, what you got going on. Why are you bringing that up right here? I said, well, I'm having a one-on-one conversation with Mr. Gaines. This has nothing to do with you. I'm trying to get my property repaired. And then she continued to interject. Once again, I told her, do not involve yourself in what I'm having a private conversation, not a private conversation, a one-on-one conversation with Mr. Gaines. She, at that point, kept mouthing off. Of course, we exchanged words.
Just a second. You were standing,
Correct.
according to you, outside the garage.
Yes, ma'am, correct.
And you had your dog with you.
Correct.
What
Holding
kind
my
of dog?
A Yorkie Shih Tzu mix. I was
Okay,
holding
small.
him in my arms. Yes,
Okay,
ma'am.
so you were holding the dog.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, and they were inside sitting around having drinks.
Correct.
So she was seated.
Correct.
And was Mr. Gaines seated?
Yes, everyone was seated.
Okay. Stand up a second. Move over there. Just I pose to you, sir.
Yes, ma'am.
So far, is what Miss Jones tells me accurate? That she was walking by, that you and a group of people were in the garage.
Yes.
Is that true?
Yes.
And that group include Miss Jones?
Yes.
And you were having a gathering?
Yes.
Was that on a weekend?
No.
During the week?
Yes.
7 o'clock in the evening?
Yes.
Were you having cocktails?
No.
In the garage?
No.
Just sitting and talking?
Yes.
But seated?
Yes.
She walked by?
Well, she walked up. She didn't walk by.
She walked up to
my driveway. She came up.
No, she came up the driveway. We understand that, but she said she was standing outside the garage. Pay careful attention to my questions. She came up the driveway. She said she was standing outside the garage. You and Miss Jones were seated in the garage.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Now, I want you to point from where you are to something in this room. I want you to indicate the distance between where you were seated and where Miss Jones was standing when she was having this discussion with you.
When she had the discussion with me, she probably was about 2 to 3 steps from me, probably about right in front.
Okay. And how far was she from Miss Jones?
Probably about the same distance.
Now, was Miss Jones discussing with you the septic tank?
Yes.
And you had been taking care of her lawn up
Yes.
until June of 2013?
Yes.
Did you take care of her lawn after June of 2013?
No.
And I assume that that stopped because of this incident?
Yes.
Okay. How many years had you been taking care of her lawn?
It wasn't years. It's probably about months, probably about 5 to 6 months.
When she came to discuss with you the fact that she believed, at least, that you had, when you were mowing the lawn, broken the top of her septic tank, did you acknowledge that that had happened, or was it a dispute with regard to that?
I didn't acknowledge that it had happened.
You didn't?
I didn't.
So there was a dispute?
Yes.
Okay. And did she discuss with you when she was standing 2 to 3 steps away from you, where you were? That's according to you. Did she indicate what she wanted you to do?
I didn't really hear because I had music going as well, so I couldn't really hear her.
So there was music playing
Yes.
in the garage. And how many people were in the garage?
It was 4 people plus a child.
Okay, you
Me, Miss Jones, and her sister and her sister friend.
and a child.
Yes.
And everybody was sitting.
Yes.
And there was music playing.
Yes.
Okay. Now you can sit down. I may need you again. What happened next? So now they're sitting, you're standing.
I'm still in the garage. At that point, Miss Jones rose up and started standing. At that point, I'm still out in the driveway, and at that point, words kept exchanging. Miss Jones then comes towards me and gets in my face, starting arguing, telling me to not discuss the issue with Mr. Gaines. And then at that point, next thing I know, she's in my face, and then I feel she starts attacking me. I got a right hook, a left hook. I'm in between two of his vehicles. I got pushed. I dropped the dog. The dog ran out to the street in fear. I just, because I'm on an incline, his driveway is a steep incline, I fell backwards. So I had no way to get myself recovered because of the force of her attacking me. And I never struck Miss Jones.
You have photographs.
Yes, ma'am.
You have medical records.
Yes, ma'am.
I'd like to take a look at them.
And here's some larger photos as well, but the other ones are better. Your Honor, there's also a picture showing the incline of Mr. Gaines' house, of his driveway. Your Honor, I had a, I'm sorry.
So you had a black eye?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Okay, well, we were sitting in the garage. When she approached, she did have a conversation with Mr. Gaines. The only reason why I asked Mr. Gaines if he could take that in the house or down the driveway, because she came up and she was hollering and she was cussing, because I guess she had been upset. She had asked Mr. Gaines.
Just a second. She was hollering and she was cussing. I got it. I believe that that's probably true. She was annoyed. He hadn't returned her call. She had tried to reach him. It was not a quiet discussion. She was angry with him.
So when I interfered, per se, she got mad. She approached me with her dog in her arms. She walked up to me. She knew that I was afraid of dogs.
Don't tell me. Just a second. Do not tell me what she knew. So far, she said she approached you. She was cussing. She was being rude, and there was a child playing around.
Your Honor,
so
excuse me.
Now, she was outside of the garage. Then, according to you, she came into the garage?
Correct.
She came into the garage.
And then she pushed me.
Just a second. You're seated.
No, when she was walking towards me, I stood up.
Oh, so you got up.
Right.
So what were you doing getting up?
Because she walked in the garage. When I interfered their conversation.
Just a second. When you interfered in the conversation, tell me what you said.
I told her that, I actually was talking to Mr. Gaines. I told him, I said, can y'all take that in the house or down the driveway? Because she was cursing.
Absolutely.
And my 2-year-old nephew.
You're absolutely right.
My 2-year-old nephew was in there.
You're absolutely correct. She should have taken it outside, taken it where there weren't other people.
Then she walks towards me with her dog in her arm, and she told me she don't give up about me and my sisters. She said she was talking to Mr. Gaines. I need to stay out of it. I told her, I said, I was invited here by Mr. Gaines. He invited me, so you can
just
leave.
A second. That's not this way this conversation came about.
Yes, it did.
Oh, really? Just that calmly?
Her former neighbor, Valerie Jones, falsely accused her of assaulting her during an argument. Valerie is countersuing for assault and harassment.
So you want me to believe that after she's cursing you and cursing everybody around you?
I told her, I said, I don't have anything to do with what's going on to my nephew. I said, you can leave. She told me that she didn't give about me and my sisters, and then she walked up to me and she pushed me. That is how that conversation and the whole thing.
And then how did she get a black eye?
I don't know how she got. Well, she said that in the.
How'd she get a black eye?
She's saying now that she has a black eye, but in the last trial.
Just a second. I see it in the medical record.
In the last trial, I was found not guilty because she said that I didn't give her a black eye. I don't know how she got a black eye.
Do you
I never touched her.
Just a second. Is that how you got a black eye from her?
I never touched her, Your
Honor.
Honor.
No, so tell me how you got a black eye.
I'm still standing outside of the garage, never entered the garage. Miss Jones raises out of her chair, stands up, walks towards me, mouthing off at me, arguing with me.
Would you please tell me how you got the black eye?
From her right hook.
Well, that's
in my
what I'm
eyeball.
asking you.
Her right hook.
Just a second. Is that what you testified to in the trial?
Yes.
Do you have the minutes that indicate that that's not what she testified to?
I don't have it from this last trial, but I have it where she says in here that I gave her a black eye and then she changed it. We couldn't get
just a second. I want to see where she changed it.
They wouldn't give me...
listen to me. I don't care.
Because it wasn't... It was a recording that they do. They wouldn't give it to me.
Listen to me carefully. I want to know how she got the black eye, which she had...
I never touched her.
8 hours...
I never touched her because Mr. Gaines asked her to leave. He asked everybody.
Oh, no, I don't believe that.
I never touched her.
I don't believe that.
I never touched her.
No. I don't believe that. What did you do when she pushed you?
What
did you do?
I tried to restrain her. I tried to restrain her. Mr. Gaines got up and he said, everybody leave. That's exactly what happened. I never touched this lady before.
I'm not talking about before. I'm asking you, what did you do?
I never touched her. I never touched her.
Really? You just told me you touched her.
She's just jealous. She made these accusations because she's jealous of me and Mr. Andrews' friendship. That's exactly what happened. I have no reason to lie.
Anything else you want to tell me?
This has been going on for so long. She has caused me and my husband going to counseling. I'm about on the verge of divorce. She's been going around the neighborhood telling people that me and Mr. Gaines are sleeping together. She called his wife and told her that me and him was having an affair, which is not true.
I want you to stop talking. Now, you can't tell me what she said to somebody else, to his wife, to your neighbors.
I have my two witnesses here, ma'am.
Who wants to stand up?
She called me. She called me the evening of the incident.
Yeah, just a second. You're Mr. Jones.
Yes, ma'am.
My husband.
Just a second. So she called you the evening of the incident.
Yes, ma'am.
So you were not home and you were not a witness to any of this.
No, I was not.
You're going to tell me what happened when the defendant called you on the 18th of June.
Correct.
The night of the incident.
Correct.
Listen to me carefully. She called you at work.
Right.
So she knew where you worked.
Correct.
So clearly you had a friendly relationship with her.
did.
Okay? Where were you working at the time?
At a trucking company.
And how do you think she got your work number?
We had business together before.
Who had business?
Me and Miss Valerie Jones. I did some work on her vehicle before.
Okay, so she had your cell phone or
Correct.
your work number?
Just my cell phone number.
So she called you on your cell phone.
Correct.
And
said, me and your wife just got into it at Mr. Gaines' house. She hit me and that the police were called out. You probably need to come get off work because they're probably going to take her to jail. I told her, I said, look, I will speak to my wife. I'll call my wife and see what's going on. I hadn't heard anything about the incident. I'll call her and see what's going on with this.
Okay, so let me understand this. This is your witness. Right after the incident, the defendant calls you because you had had business dealings, and I assume you were okay with each other if you had business. Otherwise, you wouldn't have given her your cell phone number.
Correct.
And she called you and she said, listen, you better come home because they're going to arrest your wife. She just assaulted me.
Correct.
Good, sit down. Anything else?
Just basically, we had to move out the neighborhood.
I don't care.
Because
I don't
she
care.
has caused, this lady is crazy.
Listen to me.
is.
Shh, listen to me. I just told you. You can't tell me what she said to anybody else, because that's hearsay.
Ma'am, I'm telling you, I never touched.
Leave it at all. No. You misunderstand. The verdict of not guilty doesn't mean it didn't happen. It just means that it was not proved beyond a reasonable doubt. A lot of people in this world understand that. You can say that. You're here before me, and I have to make a judgment whether what you are saying to me makes sense to me. I'm not excusing the fact that she was loud-mouthing because she was annoyed with Mr. Gaines that he had been blowing her off. He did work in the yard, and she felt that due to his work, something broke. Put your hand down.
What reason would I have to hit her, though?
Because you just told me, because she pushed you.
I
That's
had
what
no
you just
reason
told
to
me.
hit her, though. They got up and interfered. I never touched her, though. I never had a chance to.
Anything else? Anybody else want to say anything? I'm done with you. Anybody else want to say anything? The petitioner's claim is dismissed. On the counterclaim, I'm awarding you $2,500 for assault. That's all. Mr. Sensoli, it is your claim that the defendant, who was your girlfriend for a period of time, had you falsely arrested for assault.
Correct.
And she had you arrested on what date, sir?
It was the 5th of October.
When was the incident that she's alleging resulted in her assault?
On 13th.
Same day?
Correct.
And when was that case finally disposed of?
It was October 31st.
Of what year?
2013.
So what took you so long to get here?
I couldn't contact her. I tried and tried and I just couldn't find her.
Well,
I don't know, she was hiding out. I don't know, Your Honor. I tried. She lived with her father and her grandfather and her uncle at the time. And
just in 2013, Miss O'Brien, where was your father living?
Royal Oak, Michigan.
And where were you living in 2013?
I was living there. I did leave for Florida for quite a while. Part of me was running. I was scared of him.
What were you doing in October of 2013? Going to school, working? What were you doing?
I was in between jobs, I think, at that exact point.
At that exact point,
yeah.
In October of 2013?
Right, like when everything actually happened, yeah.
And where were you living in October of 2013?
With my dad.
When did you move from your dad's house? What month and year?
I apologize. I was living in Ohio at that time. I apologize.
In October of 2013, you were living in Ohio?
Correct.
With whom?
An ex-boyfriend.
And where were you living the following summer, 2014,
Florida.
July, August 2014,
Florida.
in Florida? With?
My great aunt and her friend.
Okay, so this case was over, and clearly she moves around a lot. So if you were trying to reach her, you might not have been able to reach her. I don't know. Now, I would like you to tell me, Mr. Sensoli, what happened on October 5th, 2013.
Well, I got a call from her. She was breaking up with her boyfriend in Ohio. She gave me a sob story about how much she's changed. She needed a ride. She had to get out of there. You know, I cared for her in the past. She's a good girl when she's not on drugs. I gave her the benefit of the doubt, thought, you know, maybe she can show me that she's changed and better.
Okay.
So I picked her up.
From?
Ohio, outside
To
of
drive
Toledo.
her to where?
We went out to a hotel near Fowlerville in Howell, Michigan, and stayed one night, and she seemed like she was doing better. So the following night, we went back to my house, and that's when it all just started again.
What all started again?
Her drug use, staying up all night.
What kind of drugs does she use?
Prescription Adderall.
Did you discuss it with her?
Yes, many times.
What did she say to you?
Give me a chance, I'll show you I'm better. Same thing she's been saying.
For years?
Ever since I've known her, correct.
So tell me about this incident that resulted in your arrest.
Well, we were out of my house. She was there for a few nights, and she didn't sleep. You know, I'd go to bed at night, I'd wake up, she'd still be in the same spot in front of the computer. Like, I would notice that she was snooping around in medicine cabinets, just anything. And finally, I just told her I had enough. Like, you need to go, you need to call your father. I'll drive you to the exit in Fowlerville. Like, you just got to get out of here. I can't handle this anymore. And as I'm driving her there...
Driving her to where?
The exit where we're meeting her father.
Did she call her father?
Yes, her father was on the way out.
Okay, go ahead.
And on the ride there, I just told her again, like, this is it. Like, I'm done with you. Do not contact me again. You haven't changed. You never will. She got upset, started crying. She smacked me. And I told her, you know, you can't do that. I'm calling the police. She had warrants for arrest. As soon as I went to grab my phone...
Just a second. You're talking too fast now.
I'm sorry. I apologize.
The last thing I heard before you started to move quickly was she slapped you.
She smacked me, yes, correct.
Where?
In the face.
And you said?
I'm going to call the police. You cannot...
Do that.
Yes.
What happened next?
Then I grabbed my phone to call the police, and she smacked it out of my hand instantly because she has warrants for her arrest, and she was scared about being in trouble for hitting me.
Warrants for what?
I do not know. I know she still has warrants to this day. She runs from everything she has to do. She never faces up to anything.
You know that, huh?
Shh. So what happened next, sir?
She tried to jump out of my car after that because she was afraid, I'm assuming, that I was going to call the police and she was going to go to jail. Well, as she tried to get out of my car, I slowed down. She got out. She grabbed my phone. She threw it. I had other papers in my car. She threw those too. I got out, picked up my stuff, drove home. As I'm driving home, about maybe 5 minutes later, I get a text saying, you shouldn't hit women. At that point, I figured I need to call the police and let them know what really happened. So I called the police, told them. They said, okay, do you mind if we come out and get your statement? I said, of course. I had nothing to worry about. Well, as soon as I got there, I got arrested instantly when I walked out.
As soon as you got...
As soon as the police came to my house, I walked out to talk to them, and they arrested me right away.
Okay. Can I see the paperwork that you filed with the police, Miss O'Brien?
That I filed?
Yeah.
I don't have... Like, I figured he's suing me. I figured he would get the police report, but he obviously didn't want that to be shown, so...
I have a disposition saying
May I
that.
see it, please?
Yeah.
Okay. Now I'm going to
They
go
gave her-
very slowly, Miss O'Brien.
Yes.
I want you to tell me exactly what happened on October 5th, 2013.
Okay. On that date, I'm sorry, I just wanted to tell you that I, first of all, was not the one that contacted him to come give me a ride from Ohio. He contacted me, so I just want to let you know that. But on October 5th, we were fighting because he didn't have, yeah, I was taking Adderall at the time. He wanted it. He wanted me to give him my prescription medication, which he didn't have a prescription for. I didn't think that was... I didn't want to do that. First of all, I didn't want to get in trouble. That's illegal. Second of all, why would I?
Just tell me what happened on October 5th.
Okay, so we were fighting about that, and he decides, well, I'm going to take you home. This is it, whatever. And we're going to go meet up with my dad.
Did you call your father?
Yeah, we were going to meet him at, the McDonald's down the road. And we get in the car, and he's flipping out on the fact that I won't give him my prescription medication. Flipping out like you've never, I was scared to death. Hunched up in the corner against the car door. And he hits me. Okay, I don't know where any of me slapping him came from, but he hits me. I opened the car door because I was scared. I don't know why I opened the car door. He shoved me out of the car door. He shoved me out. My foot was stuck. He continues to go as my foot's stuck, and I'm being dragged down a gravel road and throws my stuff out of the car. I finally get unstuck, and this couple sees everything that happened, and they come over and they call the cops for me.
Photographs of your injuries? The answer is either yes or no.
I don't have them with me, no.
Do you have any medical reports?
Not with me, no.
Well, where did you think you were coming today?
Honestly, I tried to get the information. I figured that since he was suing me, he would have the police report.
I have the police report, madam.
Oh,
I asked you where your photographs were.
I'm sorry.
Where your photographs were and where your medical records were.
I thought that the photographs would be with the police report and the medical records. They're in archives.
Where are you working now?
It's
not an answer.
Sorry, I just got a new job at Mr. B's downtown Royal Oak. It's a restaurant bar.
When did you start?
I haven't started
so
yet.
So the answer is you're unemployed.
Yes.
I want to know when the last time was that you worked.
A couple weeks ago.
Where?
O'Toole's. It's a bar.
And how long did you work at O'Toole's?
A few months.
How many is a few months? From when to when?
February till June.
What happened to that job?
I had a family incident and I had to take some time off. When I came back, they just didn't have many hours for me. I found a job at Mr. B's. I figured just take the job there.
You have a problem with prescription drugs?
I did. I'll admit I did.
I didn't ask you, did you?
Oh,
no.
I
didn't ask, did you? I said, do you?
No.
Now, you called the police. They responded. You said he assaulted you. Were you in touch with the district attorney?
No.
Well, the police asked you for your information, where you live, what your phone number is. You now had your phone back. Why didn't you show up?
Honestly, I was scared.
Right.
I was scared to death. I have many threats from him.
Show me. Show me. I really want to see them.
I really wish I had them all together.
But
I'll find something.
Just a second. This is where you're coming. You're coming to...
Prepared, and I apologize. I honestly was...
You want to show me where you said he constantly threatens you, which is why you were scared, which is why you didn't go to court.
Yeah, I mean, just up until, yesterday I was getting emails from him.
Well, just show me.
All right. These are just, saying how he's going to make me look dumb on TV and all this stuff. I can't find...
Please?
All right, I just feel stupid. I guess I don't have anything available right now.
Your Honor.
What?
I have proof from her, actually. She's not scared of me. She's offering money for me to come see her. Calling me babe and...
I'll admit, obviously, I got myself into this situation because obviously I loved you at some point. Obviously, I kept falling for your games and your tricks and your...
Just a second, this was last month.
Yeah. How
long did you spend in jail?
2 nights, 3 days.
You better start working at that bar. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $5,000.
And now, the next case.
All parties in the matter of Smith versus Malloy. Step forward.
Emmanuel Smith is suing former friend Emily Malloy for driving his rental car without permission and wrecking it.
This is some nonsense about you renting a car and a defendant who was, according to you, an on and off girlfriend.
Yes, Your Honor.
And according to you, she, unbeknownst to you, while you were sleeping, took the keys to the car and went out to get some breakfast. And while she was taking a bite of her breakfast sandwich, she had an accident with the rental car. Is that what happened?
Your Honor, she basically stole the keys without my permission.
Yeah, I know. That's what you said. That's not what I think happened. You have the car, right?
Yes, Your Honor.
You have a car that's registered in your name.
Yes, Your Honor.
What kind of car do you have?
A Nissan Altima.
What year?
2011.
Nice car.
Yes.
Then what did you need a rental car for?
I needed to repair the brakes on my vehicle, and I needed a vehicle to drive while I was doing that.
So you rented this car for you?
Yes, Your Honor.
Do you have the bill for the brakes on your car to show me?
I was actually doing the brake repair myself.
You have the receipts for the parts?
I do not have those with me.
Right. How many times had you rented a car in the past and let her drive?
I never have, Your Honor.
Never?
No.
Is that true?
No.
No, of course not. Now, you want to tell me the circumstances surrounding you driving this rental car?
Mr. Smith did rent the car
for
me.
You went with him?
Yes.
From what company did he rent the car?
I don't remember the name of the company, I apologize, but I do know that we picked it up from the airport.
Was there any reason you were at the airport, or is that just the outlet where you picked up the rental car from?
It's just the outlet.
And had you ever picked up a car from that outlet before, because he had rented a car for you before?
Yes.
So from the same outlet?
Yes.
Was it Enterprise, Dollar, Hertz? What was the name of the company?
Avis Budget.
How many times had he rented a car from Avis Budget at the airport for you?
I don't know the exact number, but it was at least twice.
In what period of time?
In about a 3-month span.
And how would you pay him for renting the car for you?
I would pay him cash.
How much?
It varied, but ranged from about 100 to 200. It also depended on how long I had the vehicle.
What did you need a rental car for?
Because I did not have a vehicle, and I also had children that I needed to pick up from my ex-husband.
So if I called Avis Budget, they would tell me that Mr. Smith, that is your real name, is it not?
Yes, ma'am.
With the Social Security number that we have on file, rented a car from this Avis Budget at least twice within a 3-month period.
Yes, ma'am.
Is that right, Mr. Smith?
Your Honor, I bought cars.
That's not my question, Mr. Smith. If I were to call Avis Budget and give them your name and the last 4 digits of your Social Security number and or driver's license, would they tell me that you had rented a car there 2 times within a 3-month period?
I've rented vehicles for myself.
From this company within a 3-month period? The answer is either yes or no.
Yes.
Now, how many times do you have to fix the brakes on your 2011 car?
I also buy vehicles from auctions to resell. So
And?
at times I'm without a vehicle, so I drive rental cars.
Okay. All right, tell me your story, then I'll give you my ruling, and then I'm going to lunch.
She was never supposed to drive it.
That's your story. She says you rented the car for her. You've done it for her in the past. You were supposed to put her name on as another driver, and you didn't do it because she has no credit and she can't get a rental car herself. That's your story.
Yes, ma'am.
Who's this?
This is my witness. She was at my house tonight that she stole the keys from me.
Who is she?
A friend of mine.
What was she doing at the house?
We went back to my house after we returned from the rental car place.
What was she doing at your house that night?
She hangs out at my house every once in a while.
What were you doing at his house?
I was not at his house. He actually drove me to the rental car company. And from the rental car company, I went to my mother's house. Well, almost made it to my mother's house.
When was the last time you dated? The two of you?
We never dated.
The defendant, Emily Malloy, and I dated on and off for a little over a year. That's what he says.
That's not true.
Well, then how do you know him?
We're friends. I met him through my brother, but we were just friends.
Just friends. Anybody else want to tell me about this nonsense? Case is dismissed, that's all.
And now, the next case.
All parties in the matter of Cross versus Teo Kessel. Step forward.
Peter Cross is suing his former roommates, Precious Jade Teo and Abraham Kessel, for the return of rent and damages resulting from a hostile living environment.
Mr. Cross, on what date did you rent a room in Mr. Kessel's home?
Sometime prior to August 18th, I answered an ad on Craigslist. I met with the defendants and gave them a check for $750, and I gave them an additional check for $850 on September 13th. I moved in on September 1st.
Okay.
And I was forced to move out by September 8th.
What were the 2 checks for, the $750 and the $850?
$750 was for 1 month's rent. $850 was for a $750 deposit and a $100 fee.
What was the fee for?
Cleaning deposit or something like that.
Okay, just so that we're clear, when you moved out on the 8th of September, did you get any of that money back?
$750, and when I asked for the remainder...
You got $750 back?
Yes, ma'am.
Now, Miss Teo, I gather that you sort of manage the renting of these rooms that Mr. Kessler does in order to have income and in order to maintain his house. This is a private house?
Yes, ma'am.
And how many rooms do you rent in this private house?
There's 4 rooms. Dad occupies 1, I occupy 1, and we rent out 2 rooms.
2 rooms to how many tenants?
2 tenants. That's Bob over there and Peter.
Okay. How long have you been renting the rooms?
I've been renting rooms actually for the last 5 years, 6 years.
Okay, so Mr. Cross moved in, and clearly, based upon his statement and your answer, the tenancy wasn't working out.
That's right.
And you knew that within the first few days.
Yes.
I want you to tell me what wasn't working out.
Judge Peter Cross says former roommates Precious Jade Teo and Abraham Kessel owe for the return of rent and punitive damages. The defendants are countersuing for property damage and emotional distress.
Now, what wasn't working out?
When Peter moved in, he broke a few of the rules that we talked about.
Like what?
First of all, I showed him the refrigerator, and 4 of us are sharing the refrigerator. So I showed him the space that's allotted to him. When he moved in, he brought in a huge box of frozen food, and he knew it wouldn't fit in the space.
Don't tell me what he knew.
So
Don't
we,
listen to me. Don't tell me what he knew.
Okay.
So what happened to the food he brought?
So we didn't, want to throw it out, and we told him, we gave you this space, but so we're going to just try to put all your stuff in the fridge.
Okay.
Peter was very normal when I first met him, and then the day he moved in, he seemed to become another person. So as far as my experience with him, he's like two different people. Even today, he's never had a cane. So I don't understand.
Listen to me. I don't care what you understand today.
Okay.
All I want to know is, what were the problems within the first week? So far you told me
Yes.
he brought in too much frozen food.
Yes.
What else?
The first night when he was sleeping, I'm in the room next to him, and Bob is in the room next to him too. And in the middle of the night, he would cough, and it's not a normal cough. This is how he would cough. Like that. And when
Look at me, don't look at him.
And when he would yawn, it's not a normal yawn either. His yawn would go, oh, like that in the middle of the night.
So he was noisy and disturbing.
Yes, so we told him that, maybe he should cover his mouth, and because it was so loud, we decided to have a meeting, and he wouldn't attend the meeting. He would just walk away. Every time I tried to talk to him, he would turn around and walk away.
So the first thing was the frozen food, but more importantly, the first night he was there,
Yes, ma'am.
he was disturbing the sleep of you. I assume you. I don't know about Mr. Kessler. Now, did the noisy nights go on the second night as well?
Well, the second night, I told him, I heard him, and the next night he was quiet as a mouse. So we thought, okay.
Don't tell me what you thought.
Then he started again, after that.
On the third night?
Yes.
And
Not
what-
just in the night, but during the day as well.
So he started to be noisy during the day and night?
Yes, ma'am.
What about the fourth night?
The fourth night, he told us that he needed a landline, and we thought he had a cell phone, so we never, discussed that. And he said he wanted Cox to come over to set up the landline, and we told him we have a landline. Would he use it? He says, no, I want to have my own number. So we said, okay, fine. And when Dad found out it was Cox, he was kind of upset because he had very bad experience with that company. But just because he moved in and he didn't have a phone, we just said, okay. Cox people came over. The next thing we know, our garage door doesn't work. We have a receipt that we paid $175 to have it fixed.
Sue them. Sue them.
Well,
he didn't put in a landline.
Says former roommates Precious Jade Teo and Abraham Kessel owe for the return of rent and punitive damages. The defendants are countersuing for property damage and emotional distress.
Now, if a company comes into your home and you claim destroys your property, sue them.
We tried to talk to Cox when they came back, and I told Peter that,
Don't tell me what you told Peter.
Why should we be responsible?
I'm telling you, you're not responsible.
Yeah.
If a telephone company comes in and you believe damaged your property, sue them. He didn't try to install the landline, right?
Right.
Okay, because that's your counterclaim, so I've just dealt with that. Now,
May
what date did you give him a 30-day notice?
When we talked about Cox, and he said, I will be responsible. I will pay.
Would you do me a favor? Just answer my question, please.
We told him on September the 7th, ma'am.
That he'd had to be out on what date?
End of the month.
And he moved out the next day?
He moved out on the 8th, yes.
And that's what this lawsuit is about. He would like his prorated rent for the month that he paid for. Your defense to that is he could have stayed until the end of the month. Listen, I would be jumping up in the air if I were the three of you that he moved out on the 8th and you didn't have to go through 22 sleepless nights being annoyed by what you have so colorfully described as the noise he made. I would return his $750, because you're now holding $850, keep the $100 for his living there, he did live there for a couple of days, and say, goodbye, I made a mistake. Why wouldn't you give him his money back?
First of all, we told him we didn't think it was going to work out, being that the deposit was meant for the last month's rent. And if we could work it out where we give the last month's rent to him, he could stay for the end of the month. And
you're not following my question. I'm asking you a question, and you're answering what you want to answer in your head.
Your Honor, we were very happy he was going to move out before the end of the month, and he never asked for any...
Well, now he's asking us for his money back.
Yeah, but he didn't say that when he left. Yeah.
If I were living next door to somebody and being kept awake at night, which you have described, you and the co-defendant and the other roommate, and you had an opportunity of getting rid of the annoyance that was keeping you up at night, why wouldn't you gratefully accept that?
We did.
Right? Right? Of course. Anything else you want to tell me?
No, ma'am.
Perfect. What?
I have a copy of the check I gave him. May I show the judge?
He gave you 2 checks. He gave you 1 check for $750,
Yes.
and he gave you 1 check for $850.
I have a check here in which I...
No, don't show me.
On it I wrote that he has to leave at the end of the month.
I don't care. He says that it was created in there by all of you, a hostile situation where he had to attend meetings to discuss his noisy coughing and his noisy yawning, and he had enough of all of you, and so he left. And I agree that it was a good thing that he left for him, and it was a good thing that he left for you, and you should pay him the money that he didn't use, that he had to use for someplace else. You owe him $750.
Now, the next case.
All parties in the matter of Julian versus Cortez. Step forward.
Kareem Julian is suing his ex-girlfriend, Eileen Cortez, for a tax return that was accidentally deposited into her bank account.
Mr. Julian, the case is relatively simple. You claim that your tax return was sent to the defendant's bank account. The defendant was your girlfriend.
Yes.
And it went where it was directed to go by your father, who I assume this is your father, who
Yes.
prepares your tax returns. He prepares your tax returns. He directs that your refund go to her bank account. It went to her bank account. She spent it. She says that was your agreement. That's why the money went into her bank, right?
Yes.
That's what you say. Okay. So now, Mr. Julian, you tell me why your tax refund went into Miss Cortez's bank account rather than your bank account.
I didn't do my taxes, so it was an accident by my father. He used to...
Stand up, sir. Your last name is?
Julian.
You do tax preparation as a living?
No, just for the family.
How long have you been doing it for the family?
A few years, well.
How long have you been doing it for your son? How many years?
Probably about 5 years since he started doing taxes, since he was required to do taxes.
How many years have you been putting the returns in his bank account?
Well, the first time I did it, they were living together, and I did both of them together.
That was 5 years ago?
What, 3 years ago? Maybe 3 years ago.
Well, when for the first time did you do their tax returns?
The first time I did his tax return, I think he got a check refund rather than direct deposit.
Where did it go?
He got a physical check.
He got it.
Yes.
And the next time?
The next time, maybe a check. The first time I did the direct deposit was with both of them, and I had 2 Bank of America accounts, and I have it on my phone, and I put her refund in her account and his refund in his account.
Okay, so the first time you did it correctly. You put one refund in one account and one refund in the other account. And how many years ago was that?
Probably about 3 years ago.
And so it worked?
It worked.
For what year didn't it work, Mr. Julian?
It was just last year.
Were you and Miss Cortez living together?
No.
When did you break up?
13 in the summertime, so like after we graduated
Is that
college.
right? Yes. And this was for returns for 14, 15?
Yes.
How much was your refund?
It totaled $968.
And when you filed your son's tax returns this time, you knew that he wasn't living with the defendant.
Right, and they had filed their 2013 taxes. I had him do the 2013 taxes on his own. I gave him the program, and it didn't work. He didn't do it right, so he asked me to do 14. So I did 12 for him, and he did 13 on his own, and he didn't do it correctly. So he asked me again to do 14 for him, and that's when I did it, and I went back and get the old account number. And I messed up there.
Have a seat, sir. Ball's in your court. $968, his tax refund. Explain to me why you kept it.
When the money he claims was deposited...
It was deposited.
When it was deposited in my account, I was unaware of it because I'm not one to constantly be checking my account. When I found out that the money was deposited in my account, I notified my bank directly, and I have the proof so you can see. And they said that they were going to handle it, letting them know about that situation. Now, when I first found out that money was deposited into my account, I figured, well, this is all the money that he owed me from when we were together. So,
do we have any other excuses?
I mean, and it's not an excuse. Like, I figured, he promised me he was going to pay me this money eventually when we were together. He never did. So... I figured that, this money is,
$968, judgment for the plaintiff. Thank you.
Morning, you may be seated. Have a seat.
Mr. Al-Young, must be your son. You were in the park with him on February 27th of this year. and he was bitten on the leg by the defendant's dog.
Yes, Your Honor.
You want his medical bills, take it for what you describe as pain and suffering. Mr. Braff says it was your son's fault.
Yes, Your Honor.
As I read your answer, that's what I gather your answer is. Okay. Why don't you tell me, sir, what time did you take your son to the park?
It was between 5:30 and 6 o'clock. It was getting dark, so we went to the park. He wanted to ride his bicycle around the park, so we went there, and he started to ride his bike.
Is there a pavement there?
No, Your Honor.
It's a dirt road?
I have a picture of it.
I'd like to take a look at it.
I have some pictures of the whole park, if that would be of help to you.
I'll get to you.
It is a park with a baseball field and a soccer field, and then there's a wood fence next to the road. Yes.
Oh, I see it. So he was riding around
where it's marked inside the fence.
Fine, got it. You would say that this is a fair and accurate representation of the park?
Of a portion of it, yes.
Of a portion of the park, not where the bite took place.
Down at the far end of that.
Can I see it in this photograph?
Yes, it'd be along the fence, down towards the end of the fence, on the right.
You mean perfect? Then I have it. And I see that there are people, and I see one dog, which is clearly not your dog. Okay, so he's riding his bicycle along the fence.
Yes, Your Honor.
And?
And then this dog ran up to him, and then I saw him stopped, and the dog kind of went up to his side. And then I saw Mr. Braff walk up to him. And when I saw that, I thought, whoa, something must be wrong, because he was...
Because you were in this photograph?
I was sitting in my car, yes. I was...
You were in your car?
Yeah, parked right next to the fence like that.
Okay, so you were in your car?
Yes. I was looking out the window.
Okay, go ahead. So you saw your son stop, you saw Mr. Braff walk up to him after the dog.
And then
you have a small dog.
Yeah, he's 22 pounds, Bijan Frise.
Go ahead.
So when he left, he just stood there, so I knew, I had an inkling something was wrong. So I walked up, and he said, Daddy, the dog bit me. So I looked at it, I went to my car, got my first aid kit, cleaned him up, and then I went up to him. I said, is that your dog? And he said, the first thing I heard from him was he's never done that before. So I called the sheriff to get a report, and the sheriff called animal control. And after that was done, animal control couldn't come, so I decided to take him to emergency room. And before I left, he agreed to, I said, you're going to take care of this? So he said, of course. And then I left him.
So it all sounded very civilized.
Yeah, I thought...
It all sounded very civilized. Yes. You live where, sir?
I live in San Rafael. I live around a couple of blocks away from it.
No, but what state do you live in?
California, San Rafael, California.
This is close by. Yes. And you live in California?
I live in San Rafael, California also.
Right. It all sounds like very California. All sounds so far very civilized. Okay, so you took your son to the doctor. He was
Emergency
treated.
room, yeah.
He was treated. What were your out-of-pocket expenses, sir?
You know, at that point when I went to the Kaiser, where we went, when I checked in, you have to pay a fee, and then when you walked in, after the thing, they had me sign something. I just, you know, at that point, I wasn't...
Just tell me what your out-of-pocket expense was.
I think I paid $150.
Look in your records. This is a court.
It's $150 out of pocket.
Okay.
Why are you claiming $385?
Don't ask him any questions. Don't ask him any questions. Okay. Can I ask you some questions?
Uh-huh. Do you want me to tell you, like, what happened?
Oh, my God. A live one.
I mean questions, sorry.
Tell me your name.
Wild.
Spell it for me.
W-Y-L-D.
Wild. Somebody had a very good idea of what you were going to be like when you were born.
Yep.
Right? Okay. So I want you to think back to the day in the park, Wild.
Mm-hmm.
Tell me what happened.
Well, I was just riding my bike along, you know, the gravel road, and, like, this Leo the dog, he ran up, and I felt like he was just gonna say hi, lick me, and then, like, he bit me. Then I'm like, did he bit me?
Listen to me. I'm going to give you a piece of advice, Wild, that is very, very good advice. I want you to take the word like out of your vocabulary.
Okay.
Don't ever use it. Even if it's in the right place to use it, don't use it. It's what we call a filler word.
Filler word.
A filler word. And only people who have nothing to say use filler words. If you want to say something, you can say it without using the word like, okay? So you thought the dog was going to lick you.
Mm-hmm.
Were you still on your bike when the dog ran up to you?
Yeah.
Were you still riding?
I stopped.
You stopped?
Mm-hmm.
And it was when you stopped that the dog bit you?
Mm-hmm.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Okay. Did it hurt?
It hurt a lot.
Did the dog growl at you or just came up?
It just ran up and started barking.
The dog started barking. Were you still pedaling or had you stopped?
Well, I stopped.
You stopped?
Mm-hmm.
Were there any other children there?
No.
Were there any other people there?
Yeah.
Did anybody else come up to you other than your dad and Mr. Braff?
Yeah, some people came up.
You went to the doctor. What did they do?
They just, like, put some soap, cleaned it.
They didn't do like.
Oh.
They put some soap and cleaned it.
They put some soap and cleaned it.
Perfect. Did you stay home from school the next day?
I don't really remember.
Okay, but you were okay the next day.
Yeah, I was okay.
Okay, who changed your bandage?
My dad.
Good. Okay, Wild, you can go back and sit down. You're a very bright young man. Don't use like.
Okay, I won't use like.
Okay, Mr. Braff.
First of all, I have some pictures of the park.
I'd like to see them.
And with some of the dogs there. Now, this has been used for dogs off leash for several decades.
There's a sign there outside. Do you have a close-up picture of what that sign says? I'd like to see it. But it's clearly a place where people bring their dogs and allow them to go unleashed. I don't know if they permit it. Notice to pet owners, please be courteous, clean up after your dog, and control your pet. Okay, so now I have the pictures.
Okay. Do you want me to proceed?
Yeah, I'd like you to tell me.
Okay. I would like to give you a copy of the report from the hearing officer where we had a dangerous dog hearing that has comments from several people that were at the park.
Oh, no, I'm not reading that.
There's just a few items that I've underlined.
I'm not reading that.
Okay.
If you wanted to bring anyone in, Mr. Braff, as a witness who was there for me to examine, I would be more than happy.
I have one witness.
Then I'll hear it. But right now, I'd like you to tell me what you observed on that date. Your dog was unleashed, playing.
Right.
Go
Which
ahead.
was the norm at the park.
Fine.
Contrary to what's been said, my dog was at the picnic tables that are shown on the photos.
Nobody said where your dog was. The only person who said that
The person that was also there was Wild.
At the picnic table?
At the picnic tables.
Yes.
There's a path along the fence.
Yes.
He took off along that path.
Yes.
And went that close to my dog, who had to jump back out of the way. Then he went on up the hill, and my dog chased him, and unfortunately bit him.
Well, then you're responsible. You didn't run fast enough after your dog. You lost control of your dog. If your dog went and chased him,
Well, the
then it was your
provocation-
then it was your responsibility, sir, to have control of your dog and to call your dog back. And if the dog doesn't listen to you, then you lost control of your dog. You've lost control
The
of your dog.
provocation was him being almost run over.
Nah, that would be ridiculous, Mr. Braff.
Joseph Braff's dog bit his 8-year-old son, Wild. He is suing for medical bills, property damage, and pain and suffering.
Okay.
Judge, may I speak to you?
Absolutely.
Thank you. My name is Larry Goldberg, and I'm one of the regular dog owners at the park, and I'd like to just make a quick statement, if I may.
No, don't make a statement.
Okay.
You know, you can't make a statement.
All right.
No, listen to me. This is not a presidential debate. You do not get 30 seconds. You can tell me what you observed on that date with Mr. Braff's dog and the plaintiff's son. That I will hear, and then I will maybe ask you questions, but you can't make a statement.
Okay. I was not present at the time of the bite. What I wanted to...
Then you can sit down. Then I'm not interested in anything you have to say. If you were not present at the time of the bite, you have nothing to contribute to this case. It's pure, simple, basic law.
Is there such a thing as provocation, Judge?
I'm telling you, sir, you don't get to ask me questions.
I'm sorry.
I get to ask you questions if you have relevant information. I have other things to do today. If you were a witness there, I absolutely would have taken every bit of testimony that you have to offer. But you were not. So what your opinion of is what provocation is totally irrelevant to me.
That's too bad.
Okay. Well, it is. It's totally irrelevant to me. I am a dog owner. I have dogs that are about the size of yours and some smaller. I've had them my whole life. And I understand that if a child rides by quickly, even close to my dog, and my dog goes off to chase that child, and if I can't have control of my dog by saying, "Scout, come back," I've lost control of my dog, and if my dog bites a child because the child has come too close, in your opinion, that's fault. You've lost control of your dog. I would be responsible if my dog bit a child on the leg because the child went by too close to the dog in a scooter.
Even when the bike is not appropriate in the area?
Don't you understand my words? My words are, you were not present. You have nothing to contribute to this case. Zero. Because it's that basic. I take everything that you say, Mr. Braff, at its full face value, that this young man rode by the picnic tables and your dog was at the picnic tables and he rode by your dog, in your judgment, too close and too fast. And he kept on going. And you lost control of your dog when your dog chased him and would not come back to you and bit him. Okay. It's as simple as that.
May I add one thing?
Sure.
Okay. There were many incidents, including that day, but after that situation, where Wild poked fingers in dogs' eyes, pulled the tail, and generally harassed the dogs.
Totally,
including my dog at different times. Not at this point.
Judgment for the...
All parties in the matter of Lyman Grover versus Gonzalez. Step forward.
21-year-old Weston Lyman Grover is suing former friend and roommate, 22-year-old Julio Gonzalez, for unpaid bills and punitive damages.
We're not all going to play with each other today, are we?
No, ma'am. No, I got it.
Good. That would be a very good thing. Let me see if I understand this sort of correctly. You all live together, you two? For some reason, you were taken into custody by immigration naturalization. When?
I was taken in the beginning of March.
March of 2013?
No, 2012, Your Honor.
2012?
Right.
So not only is this a silly little case, it's also an old silly little case.
Correct, Your Honor.
It's a good thing I've had my lunch.
Judge Judy, Julio Gonzalez.
こっからが本当の勝負だ。行くぞ。神のドラから行くぞ。お前が俺
相手をして
これからが本当のさあお前がナンバーワンドラゴンボール貴様を倒すおめえをぶっ倒す負けないぞ捕まれ出せ捕まっちまえあたしら二人が
任務の邪魔
負けないぞやりっけお見せしましょうビッグゲテさんほら相手だ
さあ、ゲームの時間だ。
俺は孫悟空でもベジータでもない。この世にあった
私の炎
かかってくるがいい。
くそったれ出せ。
さっさとやろうぜ。やるしかねえか。これがオラのおめえはオラにこれがオラが相手だ。
見たまえ。
オラが負けられない。